on the Packers side of things, their success has been a lot more recent than the Lions have. The Lions, again, 7-2 in their last 9. The Packers 4-0 in their last 4. They really hadn't been playing great football, and I honestly could still make the argument. Other than that Vikings game, I don't think they've played a whole lot of great football. The Bears game, they were down by 9 or 10 late in that game and found a way to come away with it. But again, you're still playing the Bears, and then you played the Rams with Baker Mayfield. You played a concussed Tua, and you were down 10 until Tua threw a bunch of interceptions. And then the Vikings game, it's like that was a very predictable loss, I think, by the Vikings. Anytime they get any sort of resistance. It's all
about who you're playing in this time of year, too. Like, it is a lot about how you're playing down the stretch, but it's also a matter of who you're playing. When I look at who the Packers have played, they've played the Bears, the Rams, the Dolphins, the Vikings. All those teams are kind of going southbound right now, or have been southbound for a minute. I know Lions fans are kind of pinning their hopes on Baker Mayfield and the Rams kind of making that turnaround and beating the Seahawks. Draft pick position be damned. And then the Bears, and like the Dolphins and Vikings have all been starting to choke their way down the stretch. And I don't think anyone I don't even think the Dolphins are currently in a playoff spot right now.
They're not. They
not.
don't even control their own destiny at this point. I think they need.
Yeah.
Granted,
they've removed the ping pong table. What do you mean they don't control their own destiny? They've removed the ping pong table.
Yeah.
Don't you know that always works in the NFL? You remove the ping pong table. Let people know that you mean serious business. This is actually the second time they've removed the ping pong table this year. And that time when they removed the first time, oh, right, that's right. They lost the next week.
Yeah, they don't control their own destiny, but they just need to beat the Jets, who are starting. I think it got announced today. I think it's Mike White, maybe. No, it's Joe Flacco.
It's
Joe Flacco versus
spinning this roulette wheel again. Jesus
and
Christ.
then I think it's Joe Flacco actually who's getting the start. And then they would need to win that game against Joe Flacco, and then they would need Buffalo to beat New England, which I think probably will happen. So it's realistic, but with how they've played recently.
But nobody expects the Dolphins. Yeah. I mean, to a lesser extent, I don't think anyone even expects the Vikings to really make any noise in these coming playoffs if it does happen, right? Like, I know everyone's pointing to Minnesota's record, but this has been a sad fall from grace for them.
Well, I think at least NFC North-wise, I think Packers, Lions, and Bears fans have all at least rallied a little bit around like the Vikings. Yeah, your record is what it is, but you're not that great of a team.
Yeah, no, they have a minus. They lead the division with them, and they have a minus 19-point differential. Differential usually is a good indicator of how good you are, just without even going into any kind of advanced metrics, which the advanced metrics do back up that the Vikings are not a good team right now. But even without going with any advanced metrics, I've always been told point differential, you want to get a quick, good look at who's good going into the playoff. Point differential is probably the best way you can go. And who are the best teams right now? The teams everyone trusts. Bills, plus 157. Eagles, plus 127. Cowboys, plus 145. Minnesota Vikings, minus 19.
Exactly. And you really, for all of it, it reminds me truly of like that 2019 Packers team. It went 13-3, but everyone knew they were going to go up against San Francisco and get crushed. It was a foregone conclusion that that's how their season was going to end. But yeah, the Packers this year, although I think they're playing better and they've come a long way. Christian Watson had a huge stretch there, but then over their winning streak, he hasn't looked really fantastic. He has 14 catches, a touchdown, around 150 yards. Since that like 4-game outburst that he had, but he hasn't been necessarily as special as I think a lot of people had hoped, at least down the stretch. I think this game that we'll get into is insanely losable by the Packers, and one, because I don't think the Packers have been as great as everyone's seeming to make it down the stretch. There is this narrative that Aaron Rodgers is carrying him. He's not. As much as an Aaron Rodgers fan, I would love for that to be true, but it's just not true. He hasn't been good in these past couple of games. He's been a game manager. Like, I'm pretty sure over these past however many games, if you flipped him and Jared Goff's stats, like you would think that's what you would expect, but Jared Goff has looked like the better quarterback over these last 4.